Whatever happened to Nemesis? When she was released, Nemesis was considered one of the most broken gods in Smite. She was a warrior back then, she had good sustain and very good damage. Throughout Season 2, we started seeing less and less of her, until she eventually nearly completely disappeared. Today we're taking a closer look at the factors leading up to this. Let's first get the most obvious one out of the way, because probably nearly everyone knows about it. The Hand of the Gods nerf. Hand of the Gods was an important core item for Nemesis that allowed her to clear the jungle early in order to come online. When Hand of the Gods was nerfed, it pretty much lost its value because it didn't help clearing as much as it used to. And well, while one could actually still justify to build it on Nemesis, there are other options that are better on most other junglers. This means other junglers get even more early aggression, more early potential, and that's something Nemesis suffers with because she's already a late game god to begin with. As an example, take a look at Serket. Serket greatly benefits from getting Blink early to jump on enemies right away. Nemesis could also get Blink, but it doesn't really make sense for her. There's nothing in her kit that really benefits it, and the same goes for most other actives. However, an active that used to be really good on Nemesis is Fist of the Gods. Nemesis has no natural hard CC in her kit, so Fist of the Gods kinda made up for that. The problem is, on its own and just for the stun, it's just not worth 900 gold. It was only good because Hand of the Gods was good. Why is Nemesis so dependent on Hand of the Gods? Well, basically, because her other abilities are complete trash when it comes to clearing jungle camps. Slice and Dice is her main damaging ability and has a poor 25% scaling, simply because it deals too much damage otherwise when you hit in the center. But a 50% scaling is not really that scary when you look at Raven, who has 95% scaling, or Thor, who goes above 100 scaling with similar skills. Nemesis used to have double the scalings on both Slice and Dice and Swift Vengeance, but back then her kit was so broken in general that this was quickly nerfed. Maybe now it would be more appropriate to buff the scaling or damage back up a little bit. And while we're talking about scaling, there's another problem that came up with the removal of Hand of the Gods. At the beginning of the game, junglers used to buy Hand of the Gods. Now, they often buy Potion of Physical Might. Potion of Physical Might is great because it allows you to clear camps early faster and aggress more and potentially get some kills. But at the same time, it's problematic because it kinda requires you to get kills in order to make up for the money you spend. Nemesis doesn't really scale well. With a poor scaling, she can't really get the damage from the red potions that other junglers would early. This lowers her kill potential, so it's very unlikely that she actually gets a kill in the beginning, but she's still depending on the red potion because the enemy jungler gets it, and if she doesn't get it, her clear's even worse. While we're talking about items, there's another item that kinda plays into Nemesis' downfall, which is Kin Size. Nemesis has a great attack chain, so she can utilize Kin Size very well, but with the item nerfs that came for hunters, Kin Size was nerfed as well, even though it wasn't necessarily played on hunters all the time. It still was a very good item for them. Problem is, it was even better for Nemesis, and with it gone from Nemesis, she has yet another problem, because there's no item to replace it really. It's kinda core on her, and the workarounds do help. You can go full crit or full tank build, but really, Nemesis is a lot about Kin Size. Yet another item nerf hit Nemesis. Magi's Blessing. Magi's Blessing seems to be alright for her, not that important really. What you have to realize is that her shield is cleansed by hard CC. Magi's Blessing is legit the only way in the game to get around it, because beats can't always be used at the right time. As the cooldown on Magi's Blessing it's much longer now, it's basically in the same place as Kin Size. Nemesis kinda needs it, but it's still a bad item in general. In this regard, you also have to keep in mind that basically every new guard comes with an easy option for hard CC, so even the little cooldown reduction buff to Retribution doesn't really help Nemesis all that much. An often used counter-argument to Nemesis' general weakness is that she has an amazing late game. Enter Heavenly Agility. Nemesis' late game isn't that great anymore, especially since the sprint nerf. Due to the sprint nerf, you will see Heavenly Agility a lot more often. I already pointed this out in my backup video. Problem is, Heavenly Agility counters Nemesis probably even better than Bakasura. All of Nemesis' crowd control relies on slows. Slows are completely countered by Heavenly Agility because it removes slows. Therefore, she's got nothing left. If you use your Divine Judgment or Slice and Dice on a target, they can just run away from you. You can probably follow up a bit with Swift Vengeance, but that's about it, and they will still outrun you. The only counter option here is forcing yourself into getting Heavenly Agility yourself, but that's far from ideal. In regards to a late game, it's also important to notice that there's basically always a character that does it better than she does. In regards to teamfight potential, Hunbatz and Thor are simply better, and they also have a better early phase and overall fighting phases. If you have to isolate a specific target, for example a healer like Hell, Serket does a much better job for you. And last but not least, the Tank Crusher. Nemesis is supposed to be the god that steals away protections from tanks, shredding them and allowing easy kills on them. Problem is, she doesn't really excel at that because there are other gods that do it better. A prime example here is Ao Kuang, who can simply burst tanks and then threshold kill them while they still have a fair bit of health. Last but not least, I'd like to point out that Nemesis only has one damaging ability outside of her ultimate that she can actually reliably use. Her Slice and Dice is her only damaging ability that doesn't have any other purpose. It has bad scaling, and even her Swift Vengeance, which could be used as a damaging ability but is usually used as an escape, has bad scaling as well. Once again, I'm of the opinion that Nemesis is in a dire need for some changes. However, Season 3 is upon us, so I think she'll actually see some changes when the season begins, or maybe just fit into the meta a lot better than she does now. I'd also like to point out that the footage here is from nearly a year ago, so please don't comment on my playstyle, it's probably pretty horrible.